Welcome to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast with your host, Brandon Seigel. I'm a published author, speaker, entrepreneur, and private practice strategist dedicated to transforming the way that healthcare functions. This podcast is all about empowering you to create the change you want to see. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. In this quick tip episode, we're talking about the secret to sourcing candidates without a recruitment platform like Indeed, Glassdoor, etc. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of all these different ZipRecruiters, Indeeds, all that stuff. There's ways, but that's a different podcast when I teach you how to optimize that platform. So for today, it's more about how do we source candidates that don't come through a job posting platform or through an applicant tracking software. So let's get right into it. Here's the bottom line. You need to build your own candidate pool. You need to think outside the box. And so the first thing I would say is, we're going to have other episodes on this, but I think a lot of you waste money on how you create social media. And I think a lot of you utilize social media for parent education is the way I would say it. But I don't know if it's transforming to an end result for you. However, I believe that social media, when done correctly, can be one of the ways that we create and build our own candidate pool. So I'm a huge believer that you have a voice, and when you become something special, people want to be part of that special ecosystem. And I think whether it's Instagram, TikTok, you name it right now, probably Instagram and TikTok are the two main areas where I see practices just really hitting home runs with those two channels in terms of attracting candidates. And the beautiful thing is this: when we're going on Indeed, we're often only showing up for people that are looking for jobs in that area. But let's say that I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and Joseph is in Canada. Joseph may not even know that Joseph wants to work in the US. And again, depending on, there's a lot of logistics there for that example. But all of a sudden, Joseph starts to see my TikTok and my Instagram and all these different things and starts to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm in alignment. Like, my purpose is being represented by this person every day. I need to be part of that. I need to bring that. And sometimes that's a matter of maybe that's Joseph relocating, or maybe that's an expansion into another level. And it's so funny because I was meeting with a private practice that I work with. And the owner said to me that the person that is the clinical director for the practice one day will be leaving the state and going to another state. And so she's like, I have this employee until one day when the employee wants to move to this other location and start the family, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why does their employment have to stop? What if you started a practice in that new area? Her mind was blown. She's like, Brandon, I didn't even think of that. I said, we are in the business of people. When you have incredible people, anything is possible. Don't put brick and mortar walls around what the potential is out there. So understanding that we have this opportunity to build a candidate pool that can transform not just your four walls or your zip codes, but it could transform the world. So here are some examples of ways you can build your own candidate pool outside of Instagram and TikTok, which I'm a big believer in. But you could host continuing ed events. Here's the deal. Let's say that you're a functional medicine doctor and you're trying to hire other physicians that want to do functional medicine. Sometimes people don't know they want to do functional medicine, but they come to a training and as a result, they're like, I have to do this. I have to learn from you. I want to be part of this vehicle of change. I want to create on this. So sometimes that attraction is building a continuing ed event. Now, a lot of you are like, I want to do it online. But from someone that creates in-person events and digital events, in-person, in my opinion, is 1,000 times more effective in relationship cultivation than online. From my experience, 1,000 times. So I would rather put on one in-person event every other year, even though I do put one on every year right now, than put on 10 digital events a year. That is how powerful an in-person event can be. So putting on your ideal, and again, remember that we want to attract and repel. So that ideal event is not cliche, like, come learn about our clinic. No, it's literally like, we're going to teach you red light therapy to solve cancer in pediatric patients. I'm just throwing that out there. But all of a sudden, someone who's like, I want to work in pediatrics. I love holistic functional medicine. I want to learn about this modality. I've never thought that there's a practice that does this. Let me go see what it's about. I'm going to go travel for a weekend. You never know. Now, you're talking to someone that's lived in 4 states in the last 10 years. So I'm not afraid of moving for the right opportunity is my point, and neither should the right unicorn. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to create a network of synergy, nurture relationships. That network of synergy is like anyone that can think with what you do and aligns. That could be clinically, that could be professionally, that could be spiritually, whatever that is, you need a network of synergy. Nurture those relationships. You don't know who they know. You don't know how it's going to come back. The other thing I want you to think about is always ask for introductions. This year, that's something that I did. I reached out to 5 people and I said, look, I've got this incredible revenue cycle management medical billing service, and I am expanding because I'm finding top talent. I need 5 new practices to support in this unique way. Can you refer me? And I think it helps. Like, I think that all of a sudden it's like, yep, okay, well, tell me what you need. If we don't ask for the introduction, we're not going to get it. Then we need to incentivize our growth approach from our team. What if I went to your team and I said, every single person you refer to me that is deemed interview worthy is $1,000 bonus in your check. Interview worthy, I define that. Everyone you refer that just fits the criteria is $100. If I hire them over the course of 12 months, you'll get an additional $9,000. That would move some needle. It's worth 10 grand. I'm telling you. The other thing I need you to do is you always need to be recruiting. You need to be present. You need to be asking for those people. You need to say, we are nurturing our growth development. And although you can be honest with people, it's like, we want to hire for growth and we will create positions as we find those unicorns. Something I never understood was this 2-week notice baloney. Who ever came up with that we have to give 2 weeks notice? I actually acknowledge employees when the right employee, I'll wait 6 months. Now, here's the interesting thing. I recently hired this employee and she started this month. And she came to me 4 months ago through the interview process and originally was supposed to start 2 months ago. I hire way in advance. We worked it all out. And then she said, I hit a roadblock and I can't start as we originally did. And here's why. And she gave me enough notice. It was like within a week or 2 of the signed offer letter. And she said, I understand if I'm not able to continue with this role based on this new circumstance. I said, you're worth waiting another 2 months. She couldn't believe it. I said, top talent is worth waiting for. So when someone on my job application says, I just need to give my work 2 weeks notice, typically they're not my fit. Just being honest with you. Because they're going to give me 2 weeks notice. So I am advising you to attract people that want to give 2 months notice, 1 month notice. I don't care that you need them in 2 weeks. That's not fair for you to do to another practice. Now, if they happen to be available in 2 weeks because they're relocating or whatever, that's another question. So we're always recruiting, and then you must dominate your candidate magnet. You must know what you want and what you don't want and put it out there. And people ask me, like, how do I integrate negative into my job post? And I'm like, really easy. Here's the deal. Like, I'll give you an example. We're going to hire a scheduler. This role's pay structure is $18 to $20 an hour. However, you must be willing to work 40 hours a week consistently, 2 weeks off, and you will only be bonused when you hit 90% of the calendar delivered, or whatever that is. I'm putting in enough there to show them this is not a cakewalk job. I'm also putting in there reasons why you wouldn't be happy here, reasons why you would be happy here. Like, be authentic, be transparent. We don't offer benefits, or we only give 1 week in this or that. When someone comes to you and says, are you open to negotiation? My answer is no. I'm going to create transparency with a very clear, here's what it is, here is what is discussable, here's what's not. I'll say it that way. But I never want to start a relationship with negotiation. And I say it this way. Finding the right talent is like finding your forever wife, spouse, husband, whatnot. Would you negotiate if you met someone and they said, I don't want kids? Would you be like, are you willing to negotiate about that? That's not a good start to a marriage. So don't negotiate with candidates on things that are outside of the sphere of opportunity, the sphere of what you really want in your practice. Make it known from the start. And so as we look at the secret to sourcing candidates without Indeed, I want you to engage on your social media approach. I want you to engage new audiences. I want you to create more opportunity for connection, conferences, continuing ed, learning opportunities. I want you to reach and ask for the referral from people. I want you to incentivize growth within your team. And I want you to create a magnet that creates polarizing attraction and repelling to find your unicorn. Did you know that 70% of the global workforce is made up of passive talent who aren't actively job searching, but 87% of them are open to new opportunities? That's what LinkedIn Talent Solutions says. 70% of the global workforce is made up of passive talent who they're not actively looking for jobs, but 87% of them are open to new opportunities. So if they're not actively looking, you gotta find them. Quote. Here's our quote of the episode from Matthew Caldwell. Recruiting should be viewed as a business partner, someone who is critical to the success of the business. It's a business partner. You want to know something really funny? I like to do all my own initial recruiting. I want to be the first in line. So I actually make them go through my screening before I let them talk to HR, because I want to measure the business partnership at the opening level. And so should you, in most cases, depending on the way that you streamline it. I've got lots of systems for that, but it's just something to keep in mind. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast and this quick tips episode. Don't forget to like us, subscribe, share us, and be part of our journey. Reminder, together we can thrive, not just survive. Thank you for tuning in to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. I'm incredibly grateful to each and every one of you. Exciting news. We're now available everywhere, from Spotify to Apple Podcasts to YouTube or anywhere you like to listen to your podcasts. So watch, listen, and reach out. If you loved this episode, please drop a 5-star review. It truly means the world to me. Are you looking for more ways to elevate your practice? If so, now is your chance. Reach out, go to my website, or email me at brandon@wellnessworksmp.com. And remember, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.